All right, welcome back. It's tournament prep day 5, I think. What I'm gonna do, because I've had so many comments since I've been getting out on the golf course and just like talking through what I'm doing on the course, sort of like explaining yardages, how I'm playing different shots, how I'm trying to go about like strategy and bits and pieces. I've sort of like touched on it very like roughly and loosely. I'm gonna play the first 6 holes here at Dainton, and I'm gonna go through my thought process for every single shot, how I'm factoring in wind, the temperature, how I see strategy, etc. Hopefully you can get something from this. Just to add, that is not how you start a round of golf. That is not how you get warmed up to play. I've got chest DOMs. They're actually pretty bad. So what I mean by DOMs, for people that aren't like that into the training side of things, it's like muscular soreness basically from the gym. So if I've got muscular soreness or if I'm getting warmed up, you at least want to do some stretches and have some swings on the driving range before you play. And what I mean by stretches is not static stretches. It's more getting one of these and doing some of this. All right, so it's just loosening off the muscles through movement. So it's more dynamic stretching. So for the hamstring, it'd be, you know, like leg swings, side kicks, etc. Because you don't want to do static stretches where you're like holding a stretch for a fixed period of time. If you're doing like hamstring stretches like this, for instance, and you're doing like a 20-30 second hold before you play, you're going to be weaker in that muscle for the next few hours. It's just not good for getting warmed up to play golf. It's resulted in me being 191 yards away from the first at Dainton. And this is not where you want to be. So 191 yards playing. We haven't got slope, but we're going by feel, really, or by judging by my eyes, by my vision. 191, playing down about, we're going to say about 6, 185. We're adding 5 degrees for the cold temperature at the moment because it's around 10 degrees. 194. So it's 194 and it is into off the right. So that 194 is now playing at least 10, 15 longer. So 205 to 210, but I'm playing on a slight downslope, which gets it flying out a tiny bit lower. So it's all factoring in, plus a tiny little flyery liar from the fairway. So we've got 6 iron and pins in the middle, water short, water left. Being this far away, all you'd be thinking is, right, I'm aiming at right hand side of the green, and that is the middle of my dispersion pattern. And then you hit a little chubby one. Go on, get over. Just over the water. And that right there is what is important to get warmed up before a round of golf. So strategy-wise, first of all, I've aimed right-hand side of the green. And what that's allowed is for me to fat it 30 short of where I want it to and still be dry. And this does technically count as fairway. So I can take a little drop or place it within 6 inches. And now I've got a swing, the ball's dry, we can still make par. So if I was to a middle of the green, and I sort of pulled it and fatted it like I did, that'd be in the water. 53 degree, just trying to land this sort of like a few paces on with a fairly low flight. I have no idea what the greens are playing like. Look like they've been cut, but they're probably gonna be really soft, so. Yeah, it's not bad, they're pretty soft. In fact, they're very soft. You may not always be able to get sort of like onto the driving range before you play golf. Some of you just want to sort of pitch out, have a coffee or have a beer or something. But if you can just do some dynamic, sort of do a dynamic stretching warm-up routine. You can find these all over YouTube. I'm not going to go through one. It's only going to take you about 5 minutes, either at home or if you've got a bit of a longer drive, in the changing rooms. And trust me, you'll feel much more prepared to go out and play. There you go, I got away with that. Right, second hole Dainton. We're off the winter tees, which plays way shorter than normal. So, really, I could probably go for the green, which is in that corner, sort of like middle of the big trees. But you've got water just right at the green, and you've got out of bounds left and short. Winds off the right. It's just not, it's probably not the play. Unless I'd have come out and sort of like marked out how much room I had and what my landing zones were and all that stuff. But what I'm going to do is leave myself probably 80 to 100 yards, about 180-ish, 190-ish to cover the water, 250-ish, 240-ish runs out. So anything around 210. Off the right, not really into, so it's not hurting us. 210 plus that 5%, a 220 shot. And for me right now, that is sort of in between 4 and 5 iron. But as we're a bit cold, we're gonna hit a little 4. Straight over the right side of this hazard. Perfect. Should have between 80 and 100. All right, coming up on tournament prep this week. So I've got a tournament, Devon Winter Medal, which is at Saunton Golf Club. You should see a fair bit of that tournament round. 103. Shy, mate. 3 yards out. Go home. 103. There's nothing around the green that I need to worry about. Pins in the middle. 103, slightly, in fact, let's start with the percentages. So it's about 10 degrees. Now, everyone gets their yardages for about 20-ish degrees, like a fairly pleasant summer's day in England. All right, so when it gets hotter than that, you need to take off, and when it gets colder, you need to add on. So if it's around 10 degrees, I'll add 5%. If it's around 0 degrees, it's probably gonna be about 10% at least. It's roughly 5%, so 103. 5% of that is 5, so it's 108, but it's downwind, right? So it's down off the right. So it's probably 5 mile an hour downwind. 103, back where we started from. A comfortable 53 is around the 100 number. And when I say comfortable, it is, I'm literally swinging like 60 to 70% of what I can sort of get out of this wedge. And that's what I'm trying to do this year, is take down the speed with the wedges. All right, but we'll move on to that on another day. So all I'm thinking, just straight at it, maybe just slightly right of it to allow for the right to left wind. Let's see if we can get it in there. Get in there, my buddy. That looks pretty tasty, that. Just short. Not bad from there. Got a birdie putt. Yeah, when I was caddying for Steve, which was in South Africa, it's where you really had to pay attention to the temperature and how far the ball was going. So, for instance, we would be teeing off Joburg in the morning. It could be sort of like on, I say cold, it's not cold. It would be on the cooler side, right? So it'd be, I don't know, like 14 degrees or something. So 14 degrees, we'd be, let's sort of like plus 2.5% to the total yardage based on there being like 0 wind, just on temperature. And then as it would get a slight bit warmer, maybe like 2-3 holes later, we'd be playing the number. Right, 1 to 2, 1.5%. It's obviously going to be slow uphill winter greens. Probably 1.5 cups outside left edge. Not enough pace. Good read. I mean, technically this is not really a par 5 from here. It's like 440. But are we going to play as a par 5? Yes. So it's 201 to that tree popping out on the right, which means it's about a 240 carry to get way safe of that. Trees that come out on the left, but the really dense stuff, I can sort of like fly over. So the plan is, I've got a massive landing zone with driver. It's at least 100 yards wide, which is more than enough. Wind's off the left. I'm trying to take this sort of like at the green side bunker, or that bunker just short of the green on the left, with driver, play a little cut like normal, let the wind drag it from the left. In fact, start it just left of that bunker up there. Come on, wind, come on. Not really where you want it. Right, 1, 2, 4, red pin, which means it's at the front. Short is fine, left is not good, right is fine. Don't know if it's middle, right or left. We're gonna favor the right-hand side because I don't know this at this point. So we got 1, 2, 5, playing uphill, 10, 1, 3, 5. It's cold, 142, because we've got nothing in the way here, overhanging trees. So we've got a little window that we can hit into. So you're trying to think, right, what is my ball flight? I need to keep this in the air, but with enough spinning trajectory to get it over that bunker. And it probably makes sense that we get a yardage to that trap, just so we can be like, right, it's 80. So I've just only got to carry this with a decent flight, about 110. Bit of a flyer, which is fine because it takes the spin off it and keeps it going forward and lower. So I've got 7 iron and I'm just seeing that trajectory, just trying to keep it. Basically, what I'm seeing is a flight that's carrying that trap and finishing right at the pin. That's literally all I'm thinking at this point. Let's just simplify it to that. I mean, that's straight at the flag. Slightly lower than I wanted it to be. Just probably squeezed it a bit too much. Maybe like a groove low if I wanted it to be. But that's why if it's 7 iron, because that was probably as low as I was going to hit it. So playing within that window, and yeah, that just comes from sort of like doing it quite a lot, having to chip out the trees basically. Yeah, just short the green. Right, standard winter golf, wet, moist, lie, moist. Because it's winter and the greens are really soft, I'm thinking, and you're playing off a soft surface, let's just increase the margin for error here. And the greens are not that quick. So pretty simple. I'm seeing pitching wedge, just sort of like a nice connection, bit of a floaty pitching wedge, not trying to drive this in, just trying to land this like a couple paces on. It's probably going to skip. And then we'll have a putt for birdie. Yeah. 113 pin plus your 5%, roughly, let's say 119. So it's 10 up, that's 129. The pin's on the front, and you want to pitch it probably a few yards deep, if anything. So that's 132. Can't believe that. Memory card's full. So 132, what I said was, it's 5 yards helping wind, so it's 127. So I was playing the 127 number with a 48 degree, aiming at the flag, let the wind drift it back so it finishes just right, and then spins back to the left. That's what I said, and that's what I hit. So we're going to get up and have a look at that in a minute. But now we're just going to hit the same shot again. Slightly right of that. Yeah, I reckon the first one's good. Second one finished up over there. This one, just a bit deep. So I've not done my gapping, or I don't know why they even call it that. I've not got my yardages. That makes more sense, doesn't it? I've not got my yardages yet for my clubs. So it's actually a really tricky pin. If the greens were summer, if it was in the summer and the greens were quicker, this would be disgusting. So we've got 3.5%, 3%, and 3.5%. So I've got my average just over 3. It is, it gets quick around here. And with this putt, and I'll be like this in a tournament scenario as well, obviously what's going through my head is, what pace do we need on this putt so that it literally is rolling end over end and it finishes just past the hole? I don't even care if this goes in. Can I 2-putt? And can I not leave it above the hole? That's the two thoughts that are going through my head right now. So just over 3. So I'm going roughly where that the edge of the flagstick that you can't see, which is about 5 foot left of the pin. Pace-wise, I'm hoping I can just get this rolling just past the hole. That's perfect-ish. If I got really scared and left it here, now I've got a really disgusting 5-footer down the hill. So I'm thinking, yeah, this is all right. Left myself uphill, can get really confident with this. Right edge. Okay, pretty solid there. This is a classic example of the thought process that goes on. So you've got treble right. This is about 360, 370, but it's playing about 30 down. So really, I mean, if it wasn't, you know, cold and windy, I would be knocking it on here. The bit of the hole that I'm looking at, believe it or not, starts on the right edge of this fairway and goes all the way across to the left tee, or the left edge of that. So we've got about 130 yards. Firstly, that frees me up, like, to make a decent golf swing. I'm not thinking, well, I need to steer this in play. I need to hit perhaps like a little dinky stinger one. I can hit this nicely. My target is left-hand side of the fairway. I've got a big margin for error. The wind's off the right. If that pin, the way I'd do it is I'd like, can I hit drive? Then I'd be like, where's the pin? That pin is on the green enough for me to not worry now. If that pin was tucked right into that trap where you could only get at it from the right-hand side of the hole or from further back, my thought process completely changes. I'm not now hitting driver left because I can't get it close, so what's the point? So I'll be like, right, I'm going to leave myself 100 yards so I can just use trajectory to get it close. But now I know the pin's on, I can play a little dink, chip and run over that trap and still get it close. So I'm aiming left side of the fairway, play a little hold-up cut against the wind. And just bang on, wind's now drifting it a bit left, but I know there's trouble down there that I'm gonna fly. So yeah, we're gonna have about 50 yards over the trap. I hope you can like sort of pick some things up from what I'm thinking and the thought processes that are going through my head. I would class myself as probably like 4 out of 10 in terms of golf IQ when it comes to the top level golfers and tour caddies. Steve Surrey, he's right up there. He's, you know, pushing the 910s. I've still got a lot to learn, but I've learned a lot from being around better players, better golfers. And that's the only way that you're gonna fast track your way to improving. Because like, yeah, it's not that I've got, to be fair, my ball striking has got better and I've got more control of my ball and my short game's got better. But what puts it all together, if you go back and give me all those things 5 years ago before I met Steve, before I learned a lot more about the game, I wouldn't be able to put it together. Like, this is why I said, get around good players. Say you're like, I don't know, 5 handicap or a 15 handicap or a 25 handicap. Just look to play with people that are sort of like, you know, considerably better if you can. If you can get around someone that's off scratch, someone that's been playing the game of golf for ages and that's off scratch, you're gonna learn a lot. And most of it is just the management of the game. So, yeah, I mean, if you're lucky enough, I was just really lucky, really, that Steve invited me out to caddy for him. May not have factored the wind enough into that equation as I needed to there. This ball's gone nowhere. Just shows, bit of wind into, like cold wind into, plus the temperature change, and that temperature's dropping as it's getting colder. Ball's just going nowhere. Obviously no run, 89. I thought I'd be like an extra 30, and in that case I'm past the trees. This is actually disgusting. Right, so we got sat down lie. Yeah, I mean, it's sat down in a shitty muddy lie, a massive mud ball. I've got to get this up in the air over the tree. So I'm thinking that back left bit is quite a safe little bit of the green. It's just can I get the connection that I need? Oh, a little cut on it as well. Yeah, simply opening up that 60-degree wedge. Previously I had 58-degree, just an extra 2 degrees, plus an open face, and catching it well up against the wind. That's just not enough. So, yeah, not completely sound strategy. Still learning, like with these wedges. But that's in the memory bank now. So I'm thinking, right, 60 degree, 90 yards, wind there, like, that wasn't enough. So maybe open the 53 up. Apparently that's a good indicator of practical intelligence is how quickly you can learn something and not make the same mistake twice. So I used to say, look, I'm a slow learner. There's no space for slow learners in the world. Well, not in the world, that sounds a bit generous. Yeah. Bit more loft, surprisingly, with 2 degrees more loft on the face. What a coincidence, John. He's got more loft, John. The ball doesn't go as far, John. Actually, John, that would have quite. If you're watching this, you've never heard of Aimpoint, you're probably thinking, is this guy a walking spirit level? This is like a way of reading greens, which I'm not gonna go into right now, but in fact, what I will do before the season is try and go up and see Jamie Donaldson and get a really good recap and refresh of the Aimpoint system. It works. You just look a bit like Rain Man. Nope. Didn't quite get the roll there. Winter greens to be expected. That is perfect. 69. Oh yeah, that's a great shot. Right, that brings us to the end of the 6 holes. That approach shot was a bit shit. Need to get those wedges dialed in, but we will. Just giving it a boot. It's jumped. It's short.